Hello students, welcome to the Samveda e-learning classes and myself Hemant sir. Dear students, today we are going to explore with the 9th standard social sciences subject and the topic is the medieval India and the political transition. Dear students, in this lesson, in this part, we will be able to learn following points here. The Rajput dynasties that ruled in North India, the contributions of Rajput kings to literature, art and architecture, the arrival of Turks to India and the impact of Muhammad Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori invasions, and also we study the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate and their administration and contributions in India. The first and foremost thing, let us learn about the transitional period. What is this transitional period? Why do they call the transitional period here? What is the importance associated with this period, children? It's a very important point it is. It's called the transitional period, the changing period, children. Era is changing here. In the 8th standard, we have learnt about the ancient history, and in the 9th standard, we are learning the medieval history of India as well as the world. So therefore, this point becomes very important here. We are moving from the ancient to the medieval period here. Therefore, it is called the transitional period. The period between the second half of the 12th century and the first half of the 13th century is recognized here as the transitional period in Indian history, because lot of developments took place here, children. Not only in one special field here, but also several spheres of the society. So among that, the important points, what all the changes took place in the medieval period of the beginning of Indian history. And they established the huge empires, the big empires over the India, children. And also, the practice of monotheism was very much expounded in the field of religion in those days. All these developments indicate the beginning of the medieval period in India. Before the arrival of the Turks, we had a political structure and the administration structure in India, which was comprised with the small kingdoms in India, children. We have to learn about all that first, and then we learn about the invasions of the Turks. The rule of the small kings called here multi-state political system. Such a kind of the multi-state political system was created and dominated at this time by Rajput dynasties. The Rajput dynasties ruled western and northern part of the India from 9th century to 13th century, children. Rajputs, when we heard the word Rajputs here, because Rajputs are the people who were known for their braveries. They were warriors. They always dedicated their lives for the sake of their own kingdoms. And the brave people, no doubt about it. We learn various Rajput kingdoms and the kings and queens and the people who served for the Rajput kingdoms. Among the Rajput dynasties, various dynasties are there. Before we learn about the Rajput dynasties, how these Rajput dynasties come into existence? Dear children, we learnt in 8th standard Vardhanas of North India. We learn about Harshavardhana, we learn about Prabhakara Vardhana, we learn about Rajavardhana, all those rulers in the 8th standard. After the rule of that Vardhanas, next rule was started by Rajput dynasties in North India. Among the Rajputs here, the very important Rajput dynasty, children, Gurjara Pratiharas, Chandelas of Bundelkhanda, Gharwalas, Solankis, Paramaras, and many other Rajput dynasties were there. By the end of the 12th century, the Rajput kings like Prithviraj Chauhan, Jayachandra Garhwal, Paramardi Chandela, who were the powerful kings of the northern India. They grew as the most important leaders of North India. Among all these Rajput dynasties, let us recall some important dynasties, children. First Rajput dynasty here, Gurjara Pratiharas. Dear students, you can look at the slide here. Gurjara Pratiharas are the first Rajputs among the Rajputs here. It is believed that they claimed that they were belonging to the Lakshmana of the Ramayana period. And also, the founder of the Gurjara Pratiharas here, Nagabhatta, was considered the founder of the Gurjara Pratihara dynasty. And they ruled from Kanauj, children. Uttar Pradesh in those days, Kanauj was the capital of Gurjara Pratiharas. Right side you can see the map of the Gurjara Pratiharas there. Various rulers were ruled Gurjara Pratihara kingdom, but among the rulers here, the most powerful rulers of this dynasty, Nagabhatta, followed by Mihar Bhoja, we have Mahendrapala, the most important rulers of Gurjara Pratiharas. So among the Gurjara Pratiharas here, the last ruler was none other than Mahipala. You can look at the map, children, here. Northern part of the India was completely controlled by Gurjara Pratiharas. Look at, including the states here, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Uttarakhand, Jharkhand, all these regions, all the Rajasthan, Gujarat, all these areas were under their control. The Pratiharas ruled Sindh region by keeping Kanauj as their capital, and they had a constant threat of the Arabs, children. Gurjara Pratiharas had to fight with Arabs every now and then. So that was the very tough situation they had in those days. So among the very famous rulers of the Gurjara Pratiharas, I told you, Mihir Bhoja and Mahendrapala are the most powerful rulers. And especially Mihir Bhoja and Mahendrapala, they defeated the Palas of Bengal and extended the kingdom to the eastern part of the India. At this time, a foreign traveler who visited, his name called Sulaiman. Sulaiman accounted everything about Gurjara Pratihara dynasty in his book. And he says, Mihir Bhoja and his all the works are appreciated in his work. And he explained that there was a very much peace existed in the Gurjara Pratihara kingdom. Followed by that, we have the second dynasty here, Garhwalas. Garhwalas dynasty succeeded by the Gurjara Pratihara children. So founder of this dynasty, Chandradeva, and they ruled from Varanasi here. Varanasi was the capital of Garhwalas. Among the powerful kings here, one of the most powerful king, Govinda Chandra, was unforgettable here, children. And also the last king of this dynasty, Jayachandra. You can look at the political map of India during the Garhwalas' rule in India in those days. So among the famous rulers of the Garhwalas, I told you, the famous ruler was Govinda Chandra. He extended his rule till Malwa and Magadha by defeating the Palas of Kalinga and Odisha region. The rulers of Kashmir, Gujarat and Chola had cordial relationship with Govinda Chandra. He maintained a very good relation with the Cholas and the king of Gujarat as well as the king of Kashmir. So very prominent ruler. Followed by that, we have Paramaras here. Among the Paramaras, very important ruler here, Bhoja. So before going to learn about him, let us come to know who founded the Paramaras dynasty. Paramaras dynasty founded by Upendra Krishnaraja children. Remember, and also What was the capital of Paramaras? They ruled from Dharanagar. And the last king of the Paramaras is Arjuna Varmana, was the last ruler. Bhoja, as I told, one of the most prominent ruler among the Paramaras, very powerful leader in the Paramaras. He extended his kingdom by defeating the Kalyani Chalukyas, Gangas of Kalinga and the northern Konkans. He defeated all these people and extended the Paramaras kingdom. Right side you can see the image of Bhoja, one of the most popular king of Paramaras. He had a lot of experience in his political life, children, and in spite of that, he gave various contributions in the different fields, including the art and architecture as well as literature. Bhoja, he was himself a poet, as the king who came after him were weak rulers here, so therefore Paramara dynasty started declining. Once the Paramaras dynasty declined, after that Solankis came to power, the another Rajput dynasty. Founder of the Solankis, none other than Moolaraj I. He founded the Solankis dynasty and they ruled from the capital here, Anilwad. Among the famous rulers of the Solankis here, Bhima I and followed by that Moolaraja II, Veeradhwala are the most prominent rulers of Solankis. So the last ruler of the Solankis, Karnadeva. Right side you can see, children, the map of India around 1050 AD. Look at the India map. Look at the Rajput dynasties there. Chauhans, Paramaras, Solankis and Chandelas, Thomar. Though Bhima first was the most prominent and the most famous king of this dynasty, he could not protect the Somanath temple from Ghazni invasion. Dear children, this is the time where the invasion started. The foreign invasions began at this point of time here. Arrival of the Turks to India. The invaders, namely called here Muhammad Ghazni and Ghori. Among them Ghazni, he invaded on Somanath temple in Gujarat at the time of Bhima first. Though he was a very popular leader, he had all the resources and equipments with him, but he could not stop the invasion of the Muhammad Ghazni. You all know that in the history, Ghazni was one of the very important invader. He invaded India 17 times, children. At this point, when he invaded on Somanath temple here, he looted a booty of wealth from India. It was one of the very famous temple in those days, children. Moolaraja II and Veeradhwala were the capable kings of the Solankis. Solankis, Moolaraja II, he defeated Muhammad Ghazni near Mount Abu in Rajasthan in the Aravalli hill regions. During the rule of this dynasty, the famous Jain scholar Hemachandra compiled a Prakrit dictionary, Deshimala. Apart from that, Ulaf Khan and Nasrut Khan, the military generals of Alauddin Khilji, defeated Karnadeva and made the kingdom of Solankis as a part of Delhi Sultanate. At this point of time, the Solankis kingdom merged with the Delhi Sultanates. So Chandela's dynasty founded by Nanuka, and capital of the Chandelas was Khajuraho. One of the most prominent and the famous king was Danga. And the last king of the Chandelas, Veeravarma. So another important dynasty among the Rajput dynasties. In the beginning, the Chandelas were the feudatory rulers, children. Feudatory rulers means they were subordinated rulers from the Pratiharas. They were assisted by the Pratihara dynasty in those days. After the decline of the Paramaras, Danga declared himself as an independent king in this kingdom, and he took hold of the entire eastern Paramaras kingdom and extended his dynasty by defeating the Palas and Adras. Danga, he was very popularly known as Maharaja in the history. What do you mean by Maharaja, king of kings? Because of his rule, because of his popularity, he extended the military assistance to Hindu Shahi king Jayapala to fight back attacking the Turks. He was very much against the Islamic rule. Finally, due to the fighting and lack of unity among the Rajputs, Khilji sultans conquered this dynasty. There was no proper unity among the Rajput rulers. This was one of the greatest weakness to lose the battles and to lose the political hold of North India by the Rajputs. After that, we have Chauhans here. Dear students, among the Rajput dynasties, one of the most popular dynasty is Chauhans. Who founded the Chauhans dynasty? Vigraharaja II was called the founder, the pioneer of the dynasty. Capital, Rajasthan. They ruled from the Ajmer and the surrounding regions. Among the famous rulers here, Ajay Raja, Vigraharaja IV and Prithviraja III. The last king of this dynasty, Prithviraja III. Chauhana's rule was unforgettable in the history of Rajput's children. He was a true patriot when it comes to his nationality. He always fought with the invaders here. The Chauhan dynasty is the most prominent among the Rajputs. The root of this dynasty is visible during the 7th century. The dynasty started its rule from the region Ajmer, as I told you. The rulers of this dynasty were very capable rulers also, and they ruled very efficiently the kingdom. Prithviraj Chauhan was known for his bravery. Among all the rulers of the Chauhan dynasty, Prithviraj Chauhan was one of the noteworthy ruler, because he defeated the Chandelas of Bundelkhand, gained Meheba and Kalinjar areas. He was known for his bravery, and not only that, he fought against Muhammad Ghori in the Battle of Tarain, and he was able to defeat him for the first time. And not only that, Ghori wanted to extend his Ghor kingdom towards the Sindh region. He was an obstruct to such kind of the invasion. Muhammad Ghori was severely wounded in the battle of Tarain, and led another attack towards Delhi following year, next year. So that is, the first battle of Tarain was held in the year 1191, where Muhammad Ghori was defeated by Prithviraj Chauhan, followed by that the next year, Battle of Tarain, second battle. 1192, the second battle of Tarain was held. In that battle, Muhammad Ghori planned and defeated Prithviraj Chauhan. Dear students, we have studied all the Rajput dynasties. What are the contributions of these Rajput dynasties to the Indian history? There are various contributions, children. Kings like Bhoja, Munja have written various literary works. King Munja had poets Padmagupta and Halayudha in his court. And King Bhoja had extended his royal patronage to the Jain scholars, children, such as Shantisena and Prabhuchandra Suri and Ghanapala during his rule. Apart from that, there are various famous literary works contributed by the Rajputs to the Indian history, children. Among that, some of the very important are given here. Jayadeva wrote Gita Govinda book. After that, we learn about Bharavis, Kiratharjuniya, and Bhartrhari wrote the book called here Ravanavada. Mahendrapala's very important book here, Kavya Mimamse, were written during the rule of Rajput's children. Dramas like Rajashekara's Bhala Ramayana and Karpura Manjari. Apart from that, Bhavabhuti wrote Mahavira Charita book, and other than that, he also wrote Uttara Ramacharita. Historical works like Kalhana's Rajatarangini, Jayanika's Prithviraja Vijaya, and Hemachandra's Kumarapala Charita are the important works of this time. Prithviraja Raso was one of the book written by Chandabardai. Boja Prabandha by Ballala are the noted biographies of Rajputa rulers. Among the regional languages, Gujarati, Rajasthani, Hindi languages developed. Coming to the field of art and architecture, children. When it comes to art and architecture, highly renowned work is gifted by the Rajputs to the Indian history, children. The Rajput kings constructed special forts in Chittor, Mandu, Ranthambore, Jodhpur and Gwalior of North India. And not only the forts, but also the beautiful palaces they constructed, children. The palaces, especially the palaces in Jaipur, Gwalior and Udaipur are the best example. There is a city in India which is called the City of Palaces. Of course, you know very well that is Jaipur. Not only the palaces again, but also various temples, children. Dilwara temple, Vimala temple and Lunavasi temples were built on Mount Abu hills in Rajasthan. And all these are the beautiful and known for the artistic architecture of the Rajput styles. Apart from that, they also gave importance to the painting, children. The painting of the Rajput dynasties was highly encouraged and highly appreciated even in the modern days. It is specially described as Rajasthani painting style or sometimes Pahari painting style. Look at here. Rajasthani painting style can be seen in Mewar, Bukaner, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer and Buni. Pahari painting style can be seen in Kasoli, Jammu and Garbala. The arrival of the Turks to India. Dear students, the medieval Indian history begins with the arrival of Turks to India. Turks who belonged to the Turkestan Empire invaded India. Why did they invade India? What reasons made them to attack India here? They already heard about the wealth and prosperity of the country India, children. By defeating the small kingdoms of the Rajputs, the Turk built their empire in India in the following days. Still, Sindh region was always under the constant threat of the Turk attack. Turks belongs to a nomadic tribe of Mongolia, children, a part of Central Asia who had accepted Islam. So among the Turks here, Alaptigin, who belonged to the tribe, established his independent state in 1963 Common Era in Ghazni region of Afghanistan. And there were series of battles were fought between the Rajputs and the Turks in order to establish their supremacy over India, children. Muhammad Ghazni and Muhammad Ghori. Muhammad Ghazni, children. Ghazni ascended the throne after Alaptigin in 1999 Common Era. Muhammad Ghazni invaded India 17 times. We all learnt in the history in the past years and all. Every time when he invaded India, he looted the wealth of the country. He concentrated the richest temples. He concentrated the richest kingdoms and he defeated them. He plundered the wealth of India to Central Asia. The famous Somanath temple and the temples of Saurashtra were destroyed during his invasions. Somanath temple was one of the very rich temple in those days. Like how today Tirupati temple is one of the richest temple in India, in those days one of the richest temple was Somanath temple, children. Though all the Rajput kingdoms of the western India were battered by these invasions, they failed to face the Turks with unity. Muhammad invaded 17 times and carried away enormous amount of golden ornaments and wealth to Ghazni. He did not build a vast empire over India here, and his concentration was only to loot India. Followed by Muhammad Ghazni, Muhammad Ghori, children, another invader, a Turk dynasty of Shansibani of Ghor region of Afghanistan came to be existence and ended the rule of the Ghazni dynasty. Ghiyasuddin Muhammad Ghor of this dynasty ascended the throne, became the king of the Ghori dynasty, and he sent his younger brother Mujahidin Muhammad to establish the Turk rule in India. He was called as Muhammad Ghori by the Indian historians, children, and he started his invasion by acquiring the Multan region. And Muhammad Ghori wanted to recapture the places of Sindh that were under the rule of the Muhammad Ghazni. And also he invaded an Anilwada of Gujarat and got defeated there. This defeat made Muhammad to change his plan and attacked Peshawar. So then Khusrao Malik of that region surrendered to Muhammad Ghori. By keeping Lahore as his center, Muhammad attacked the plains of India. But finally, the ruler called Prithviraj Chauhan III resisted the attack of Muhammad Ghori in Delhi, and he defeated Muhammad at the battle called Battle of Tarain in the year 1191 Common Era. Followed by that, the next year itself, Muhammad Ghori returned to Ghor. Again he faced Prithviraj Chauhan III at the same place in the year 1192 Common Era, and this time he defeated Prithviraj Chauhan. Very important point, children. The leaders who were responsible for the victory of the first battle of Tarain, such as Govindrao and Bhola, were killed in the second battle. Prithviraj Chauhan continued to rule for a while after his surrender. Muhammad Ghori, he appointed some generals to look after the regions which he won against Prithviraj Chauhan, and he returned to India. And finally, he got murdered on his way back to Ghori. Dear students, what is the impact of the Rajput rule over India? There are various political implications, children. The victory of Ghoris had made many major political implications. The victory of Ghoris had many major political implications. The political system consisting of small kingdoms vanished here, hereafter completely disappeared. A centralized rule of Sultan who had immense power at Delhi came into existence in Delhi. As a result, the entire northern India came under the rule of one ruler. After Harshavardhana, after a long time, the entire India came under the control and the rule of one king at this time. The system of administration was different from the Rajputs, children. Apart from that, the Sultan had the absolute power of either appointing or dismissing all the officials. The military administration was also clearly unlike the previous one. Soldiers were appointed directly by the sultans. Soldiers remained loyal directly to the Sultan himself. With this kind of the establishment of the Sultan's rule, India got reconnected with the outer world, children. And till these many days, India lost the connection between the western and the eastern parts. But now at this point of the time, it was reconnected once again. Dear students, in this part, we have learnt all these points. The Rajput dynasties that ruled over the North India, the contributions of Rajput kings to literature, art and architecture, and the arrival of Turks, the impact of Muhammad Ghazni and the Muhammad Ghori invasions. Dear children, this is the first part we have completed. We do have one more part in the next class. Thank you, children. Myself, Mr. Hemant V. Dalwai, who works as a social science resource person for various institutions, and also I work as assistant master for the New Cambridge group of institutions, Vijayanagara, Bengaluru.